How y'all doing this morning? This morning I was just looking at some stuff on Facebook and YouTube and everything. I saw some people talking about going to New Orleans and food to eat in New Orleans and stuff like that. And it got me thinking about the New Orleans sandwiches. The two most famous ones, you got the Muffuletta and you got the po' boy. So I just kind of want to go over with y'all the history of the sandwiches and what the sandwiches should be like and my opinions on them and stuff like that. Growing up, you know, I grew up, I had Italian grandma and everything, and she'd live right by New Orleans, so we'd always go over to New Orleans and, you know, pick up a Muffuletta or pick up a good po' boy. You can get a po' boy around, you know, southern Mississippi too. And it was a really good experience, you know, growing up, you know, getting introduced to those foods. But the main thing, the first thing off for the po' boy or Muffuletta is the bread. The bread makes the sandwich. You got to have the right stuff inside, but you need the good bread too. With the po' boy, we'll start out with that. Apparently they were invented in 1922 by Benny and Clovis Martin. Martin Brothers Coffee Stand. Started, and then about 1929 they had the great Streetcar Strike there in New Orleans. Okay, a lot of people were involved in that. You know, it was during the time of Depression, everything. People were real poor. And anyway, sorry about that. So we're 1929 Streetcar Strike. So a lot of the local businesses and stuff chipped in to help out the people who were striking with the streetcar company. I won't get into why the strike was going on or anything like that. But one of them was Benny and Clovis Martin, and they wanted something they could help feed the poor striking workers. So there you have it with the po' boy sandwich. And they had to get with a bakery. They couldn't have any waste if they were going to give it away. At the time, you know, your long pieces of French bread, they were narrow on the end, and they got wider as they got to the beginning, to the middle. So they got with a Sicilian baker in town who actually made a loaf that was very similar to the French bread, just like the French bread, except it was the same size throughout and just rounded off on the ends. So that's kind of where the po' boy bread was born. And then as far as you know, the workers, or the workers that were on strike, when they come up to the little coffee house there and they see them coming, they say, here comes a poor boy. Poor boy, you know, worker, and we're going to give him some free food. So they make him a sandwich. The poor boy is what it started out as, and later it got changed to the po' boy. So that's really the history of the po' boy sandwich. Now, traditionally, a po' boy sandwich is, you know, shrimp, some oyster, some are soft shell crab, some are ham and cheese, some are roast beef. Whatever your preferences are. The way you kind of order a po' boy usually is you say, you know, if you want it plain, that's just the meat, or you want it dressed. And normally dressed, typically, let's say like a shrimp po' boy, dressed is going to be lettuce, tomato, and mayonnaise. Okay, same with a roast beef po' boy. Then there's another term you need to know is pressed. So a pressed po' boy is they'll actually dress the po' boy, and then they'll set some hot bricks with a towel on top, or either put it in a press, like a panini press a little bit, and press it. Roll it up in paper. It just helps to get all the goodness right there together. You know, if it's a big sandwich, it helps to switch it down to where you can bite into it. I tend to like my sandwiches pressed and dressed. So that's the good thing with the po' boy sandwich. Okay, in closing about the po' boy, really the most important thing to me personally is the bread. You've got to have that nice crispy loaf, and it's going to be kind of thin. So, you know, when it opens up, it's two thin pieces. You don't want a bunch of white, you know, bread in there. It's mostly just all about the crust. That's really important. You know, the ingredients. I like a shrimp po' boy. I like a lot of different po' boys, but mainly the basics ones I went over with you, and those are traditional po' boys that you'll have. Okay, on to the Muffuletta, or the Muffuletta, you know, people pronounce it a different way. First off, the name came from the bread. Okay, early in the New Orleans, you know, you had the Italian, Sicilian bakeries again that made this round bread. They called it the Muffuletta Bread. Okay, and this bread they would sell. The Italian immigrants and stuff would eat, where they could buy this bread, then they go down to the grocery, at the time. You had Central Grocery there, and they might get them some olive salad, a little salami, ham, some cheese. And the way they did it, they put it all on the plate, and they had the bread on there on the side, and they sit down and they eat it all. Eat everything separate. Well, you know, that was hard for them to carry around, to balance that tray, and it took too long. They couldn't just get their lunch and go. So what they started to do, the owner there at Central Grocery, in about 1906, he said, hey, let's take this bread, let's cut it in half. The big Muffuletta bread, it's a big round loaf about 10 inches in diameter, and they put the olive salad on there. They made their own olive salads, really good olive salads, like olives. It's got some garlic, olive oil, a little bit of celery. I think it's got a little red wine vinegar, stuff like this. Wonderful stuff. That's a real trade secret, you know, around New Orleans, is different people's olive salads. I got salami on there, ham, mortadella, provolone, Swiss cheese, and you know, it's a big sandwich, and they press it down and put it in this bread, and they wrap it in wax paper, and the workers could just take that on to work with them. And traditionally, a muffuletta is cut into 4 pieces, so you might just eat a quarter of it there for breakfast, maybe another half or so for lunch, and then you still have some left over for dinner. So it's a sandwich could last you, you know, all the long day, and it doesn't really. You can keep it out of the refrigerator, you know, during the day hours, because it's just got the olive salad and the ham, which is preserved, and the cheeses and stuff. And in fact, I'll get to that, but what I think about leaving that, I like to take mine and actually set it upside down in the refrigerator and let the olive oil kind of drain into the bottom piece of bread. And I think that really kind of softens it up a little bit, and that's just my way of doing it. But anyway, if I'm not going to eat it there all at once, if I bring my wife with me, maybe somebody else, because I mean, you can't just sit down and eat a whole muffuletta by yourself. You can, but that's a lot of food. Okay, so anyway, that was about 1906 by Central Grocery that invented the muffuletta with the Italian cold cuts and the cheeses and the olive salad with the big round loaf. Now, very important about the muffuletta that you'll see a lot of knockoffs and stuff like that. Muffuletta should never be served hot. Okay, that's not a muffuletta. That's something else. It's with the Italian cold cuts. Okay, the salamis and the hams and stuff like that. The beauty of them, they have all these little fat deposits in there. So we eat it. It's just that creamy texture to it. It's just real rich, salty. You know, you can taste all that sort of thing in there. When you heat those cold cuts up, they just draw up and they get like shoe leather. You know, good example. It's kind of like pepperoni's good on pizza, but it's really, really thin, okay? When you heat it up, you know, you've seen a raw pepperoni, it's a lot bigger. You heat it up and it gets really small, and it's kind of tough, but they're cut so thin you can still eat them. But could you imagine, you know, that pepperoni being real big, and it just big, tough, you know, it'd be oily. You know, you got a lot of oil when you heat up all those Italian meats. They're meant to be served cold. They're cold cuts meant to be served cold. That sandwich is not meant to be hot pressed. So if you go somewhere and they bring out a muffuletta and it's hot, that's not authentic muffuletta whatsoever. My favorite, of course, is the original there at Central Grocery in New Orleans. I don't think anybody can touch that muffuletta, although there is some other places, you know, they say have really good muffulettas. I've tried them all over. I've never had one close. So anyway, I just wanted to let y'all know a little bit about the history of some of these New Orleans sandwiches. They're wonderful sandwiches. And the good people in New Orleans are really happy to serve them to you and tell you all about them as well. You can look up this stuff on the internet too. But I just want to share that with you this morning. So y'all have a good day.